get some more reactions from the audience. You have one? Come on up. Hi. What's your name?
Love.
Would you say that one more time, please?
Love.
Okay, that's your name. And what would you like to ask? Love.
That even though if I see pretty commercials, I still want to be a doctor when I grow up.
You said it all. Thank you. Yes, sir. Stand up, please. What's your name?
No.
If you say love, you're in big trouble.
Actually, you hit it. It's Mr. Love. But the thing I wanted to make the comment upon is I actually saw the essence of what this show is about, said by this beautiful young lady here. She was talking about the loss of being able to play outside, which is what children ought to do. She says, I play at acting, but I don't like to go and play outside. She also
Because she didn't want to get hit by a car in the street.
Yes, which is a shame, because people ought to be able to play and be children. Second point.
No, wait a second. Let her respond to your first point. He says people ought to be able to play and be children. You say...
They can be children, but that doesn't mean they have to always go play all their life. That's not what their life is about, where they always have to go out and play. They want to be able to do something with their life, not to always go out and play, play, play. That's not what they were born for.
Sure, fun isn't meant for children.
Right, doctor. All right, go ahead. Point number two.
Number two. She mentioned the concept of going to bed with a man. I think this is a very...
She said a teenager, just because someone gets to be a teenager doesn't mean you have to sleep with somebody.
Oh, right. Okay, I think it's very interesting that a person of her young age has this concept and is so much aware of what it's all about.
Is it better that she should not be aware of what it's all about?
I think that she should be aware of this concept at an older age and and obviously she's thinking about this concept, to have this concept at this young age. And lastly, if I may...
Well, let's have a response to that. Yes? Either one.
Well, I wanted to say something about the first one.
Oh, no, the second one. we got the first one. The second one. Let's go back to you for the second one, since you said it to begin with.
Okay, now what were you saying? No.
Well, he doesn't think that you should have this concept in your head that that if you're a teenager, some teenagers might feel...
No, I don't really think that's right, because when they get older, they might not know anything about it. Even, like... Let's say they get really old, and then...
At least 15, right?
Really old.
No, I don't mean really, really old, but old enough where they should
18.
know about it. They might not. And I think it's better off when they learn younger, so they can be aware of it, and so they don't try anything.
Do you agree with that, doctor?
Well, I tell you, about older, I had a very bright 8-year-old I was testing, and on the Wechsler intelligence test, started at Stanford. One of the questions is, in an old graveyard in Spain, they discovered a small skull which they believed to be that of Christopher Columbus, when about 10 years old. And you asked the kid, what's foolish? And this little boy said, he wasn't 8 or 10. He was real old. He was at least 12 or 13. So the idea of age is a very relative one. It depends on where you are. I don't know how much real old is. I've heard kids say, by the time I'm 14, if I don't have a boyfriend having slept with him, I'm behind the times. It's relative. I think that we're pushing maturity at ever younger ages, and the little kids are doing now what big kids used to do.
Well, there is one point I'd like to add, just for those who are listening or viewing who like to hear a fair-minded point. I don't think that technically we should omit the huge amount of other material that's available for kids to assimilate that is not in commercial form.
Absolutely.
Like the other 28 minutes out of the hour, and what that is programming kids as well as adults to think.
No,
now, the only reason I say that is that we don't really, other than Stan, we do not have somebody who represents the advertising community. I think someone who did would be quick to point out that the advertising is in a lot of ways stylistically a reflection of the content of the program.
Bill, let me just add,
and the movies and music and so forth.
You seemed shocked before I mentioned the case about the 5-year-old where the judge released the man who had raped her. That isn't the youngest I've been involved with. I'm an expert witness now in a trial of a child who had been sexually abused, who was 3½.
And this all comes about by the jeans commercial.
It all comes about by our society, Marcia, of which you're a part of, and which we tend to either help or not help. The American family is in big trouble, and giving it a kick in the teeth is not going to help it.
I agree with you, up to a point. Should
What's
I continue?
the point?
The point is, they have newspapers. They see what's going on, as Bill pointed out. Our movies give a lot of sex. Why to pick on the advertising agencies and the advertisers themselves
Unfortunately, you're absolutely right. I can go through a list of song titles that they probably would blip out if I said them tonight. Everything from Push Push in the Bush to Lay Lady Lay. But what we're saying is that as an entire society, we are really pushing sex on kids. Not just commercials. I think Mr. Schwartz has a lot of guts to be able to stand up, and it's responsibility. But I'm saying, and Bill is right, it's the content of the programs, not just the commercials, absolutely. This is just the crowning glory that gives kids that extra little pizzazz. I'll get up and look sexy, too. Maybe we're all jealous. It should have been when I was 40 years ago.
There is one thing I want to ask the kids, and this will be for all kids. Do you think that when we're talking, and it is almost like awkward, a little bit, slightly, being an adult, talking about this with kids around, but I'm glad we're doing it because we need probably to have more open conversations. Do you think that there is a big difference between what you kids perceive as sexy and what adults perceive as sexy? Do you think that that's maybe part of the problem here?
What is sexy to you?
Well, to me, sexy is like getting undressed, doing like a nude show or something like that. I don't consider sexy being dressed up in nice clothes, which I think they should get. I think that the people who make these clothes from these brands should really get a round of applause because they are doing a very good job.
All right, let me take a break for a commercial. We'll continue hammering away right after this. Just a second. There's a young man here with a question. Hi, how old are you?
22. So I'm a little bit like...
You're an old timer.
Right. You know, a little bit here.
How'd you sneak in here?
I'm a little bit here on the borderline. I can see both the parent side and the kid side. And I look young for my age. You brought up a point that I really, really wanted to bring up from the beginning was that, you know, we're zeroing in on commercials. And, you know, children today they're getting so much from media and all different types of things they're getting information from. And I would like to know, what does the doctor propose to save the children? I mean, should we ban commercials? You know, a certain age that you get up to, and, you know, children are not allowed in commercials.
And the other things as well.
And all the other things as well. I mean, I think that...
That's a good point. What do we do? You're saying, all right, this is so bad, doctor. What do we do about it?
Okay, good point. By the way, it's not just commercials. I think Mr. Schwartz mentioned earlier, many, many homes now have cable and HBO, so kids don't have to go out to watch RNX movies. They just sit home. Babysitter's nice, or mom and dad don't mind, they flip it on. So you're getting kids by 8 and 9 who've seen X-rated movies or double X-rated movies. What can we do about it? We really first have to acknowledge that it's a problem. We have to alert parents to act like parents and to realize that somebody has to protect the children. Everyone says we shouldn't teach sex education in school because it's a function of the family. The family in America really needs all the help it can get. It's in big trouble. I mentioned we have a divorce rate of 1 out of 2 marriages, and it's even worse than that because the younger people that get married, 16, 17, 18, and get divorced, they all have babies. That's why they're pregnant. 1 out of 3 children born in America was conceived before marriage. Big trouble. We really have to do anything we can to help the family, whether it's education, whether it's help in school, medical aid. We must do all we can. If you strengthen the family, you will automatically be strengthening our morality and hopefully a future for our society.
I think that you're, in a way, kind of getting back to the president, what Jordache is saying, because, first of all, getting back to the commercials just for a brief moment, they're not only geared to the children, but basically they're geared to the parents, because the parents are the ones with the bucks to actually go out and buy the jeans. So if the parents are offended by it, then they won't buy the product, and then the commercial will be off the air. And it all gets back to the morals that are brought up in the home.
Could you tell the young man to sit up here and talk?
The parent should, when they say the mommy, daddy, I want Jordache jeans. The parent should explain to the child that there's nothing wrong with Jordache jeans, but explain too about because children today, they see everything else, they are curious about their sexuality. So if it's explained to them, then they can wear their Jordache jeans and they won't be running out and having babies and getting pregnant. I think it all gets back to the parents.
Bill,
I agree.
No, let's hear. Thank you very much. Good point.
He's going to work on our team.
Don't forget that he said that.
Now, Public Relations Department.
Go ahead, Stan.
First of all, something interesting as well. We probably missed out on $35 million worth of merchandise last year in the kids division.
Merchandise, you mean sales?
Sales.
Or
yeah. The demand surpassed our deliveries, which is kind of interesting. And that point is a very interesting point. It is not the child. You know, the child sees it, and it's not a question of relation. It's a question of relating to the item. It is the parent. The parent is the one who is responsible for the purchases. He's very right, okay? Especially at the age of 11 or 12, you make a lot of money, but you can't go out and buy it on your own. You have to have the parent to buy it. So maybe these commercials geared to the parents, not so much to the kids, okay? And yet the kids relate to it. I think again, if it's done innocently, and I think it has been done innocently, I think the kids relate to it. And I think this whole idea of up forward without any inhibitions, this young man was talking about, I think he's a little more inhibited than anyone else around here about what she said. I think what she said is very true. Being open-minded about things, relating to people easily, growing up with an attitude of knowing what's going on in this world. You can't hide things. The days of being under the kerchief is over. The days of being hidden under the carpets and don't worry about it, we'll tell you when you're 35 or 25 are over, okay? Kids have to know about things. The more they know, the better off they are. And I think those two girls right here grew up to be wonderful citizens.
They are.
Bill, yeah, if I can,
Address yourself. Go right back to it.
if I can address that, I think that there has to be a limit. There has to be, what we mentioned before, some sense of protection. I think the approach of education, of consciousness raising, and if I will, we have worked with not only kids who have come to us at Covenant House, but we have worked with close to 200,000 young people in the metropolitan area and all over the country in high schools, speaking to them about the problems of running away, family problems, and in particular about this problem we're talking about today. And invariably, whether I speak in a public school in the city here or an affluent prep school upstate, the kids, the high school students themselves, when they first approach that subject, that this type of advertising, and we're only talking about the sexually provocative type of advertising, not some of the things, as I said before, that you have here today, but the type of advertising that uses a kid provocatively.
That music means we have to take a break because the show's almost over. I hate to interrupt you like that, but I've got the perfect person to summarize here, and she'll do that right after this commercial break. Seconds to end it, Mike. I really.
Yeah, the kids respond. They see themselves as being used as sex objects. And that, I think, is from the kids themselves. And I think that we as adults have to respond responsibly in all levels of our jobs.
That's a good point. Now, I want to try to get some summary points. What would you so far probably said the most cogent thing on the program? Would you like to give us another comment?
Well, I don't really know what to say.
What's it, Bill?
You're batting 1 for 2.
Bill, we were going to ask her what's sex, or what is a sexy movement for her?
What's sexy to you?
Really nothing, as a matter of fact.
I think she did it again. How old are you, pal?
I'm 7.
7. Okay. Sure. Oh, isn't she smart and cute? Good combination. You have something you want to say?
Yes.
What?
Well, I do commercials, and there's a lot running now. There's, yeah, no, because...
Wait, is this a ventriloquist act going on here? What's your name?
Mike.
Mike. Mike, more from Mike later on. Who else has a point they'd like to make? Yes, stand up.
I do commercials myself, and I have plenty of time to go out and play. And my mother said if there's any time that I ever want to stop doing commercials, that I can. I enjoy it very much.
All right, Sam, you want to make your last comment on the show?
Oh, yeah. Well, what I believe really we're seeing is some very interesting contradictions. The kids are telling us all the fun they have. Marsha's telling us realistically. They not only act, they model, they take dance lessons, they run. These kids work. And that for some of them, like this beautiful young lady here, her work is her play. There really is no other
Is there anything wrong with your work being your play?
I don't think so. I really don't. It depends on the own person and their mind.